All right, so you live in Davenport and you've got a dog. You already know the city is fantastic for getting outside. But, being able to really enjoy places like the riverfront or the parks with your pup, well, that comes down to good training. So today we're going to walk through exactly how to find a great trainer right here in our area. Just imagine it for a second. You're walking along the Mississippi riverfront, it's a beautiful day, and your dog is just trotting along calmly right next to you. No pulling, no lunging. That's the goal, right? It just makes everything so much more enjoyable and opens up so many more adventures you can have together. Okay, here's what we're covering. We'll talk about why a Davenport-specific trainer is a good idea, the different kinds of training out there, how to check a trainer's credentials, what it'll likely cost, and some local rules you need to know. Then we'll wrap up with the must-ask questions before you hire anyone. So, why does it matter if your trainer knows Davenport? Well, think about it. A good trainer doesn't just know dogs, they know the world you and your dog live in. Someone who gets what it's like to navigate the busy Freight House Farmers Market on a Saturday, or how to keep your dog focused at a crowded spot like Vanderveer Park. That local knowledge is priceless. You're going to hear this term a lot, and for good reason: positive reinforcement. It's really the modern, humane way to train. Instead of focusing on what your dog is doing wrong, you reward them for what they're doing right, with treats, praise, whatever they love. It works so well, and maybe even better, it helps build a really strong, trusting bond with your dog. All right, let's get into the different ways you can actually do the training. Because, what works for one dog and owner might not work for another. It really depends on your dog, what you want to achieve, and just your life. Let's look at the options you'll find around here. So you've basically got two main paths. First up, group classes. These are awesome for socialization, especially for puppies, and for learning basic obedience with other dogs around. Plus, they're generally easier on the wallet. Then you have private lessons. This is your go-to for really specific problems. Like, your dog goes crazy when the doorbell rings. You get that focused one-on-one attention right where you need it. There's also a third option you'll see: board and trains. This is where your dog actually goes to live with the trainer for a while, for some intensive work. It can be a great way to kickstart things, but listen, this is really important. You have to be part of the process. A good trainer will insist on working with you too, to make sure all that new training actually sticks when your dog comes home. Okay, this is a big one. Literally anyone can put up a website and call themselves a dog trainer. So, how do you sort through them? Well, you look for certifications. These aren't just fancy letters, they mean the person has actually studied, passed exams, and is committed to keeping up with modern, ethical methods. So what should you be looking for on their website? Well, for general stuff like puppy manners or basic obedience, certifications like CPD-TKA or KPA-CTP are fantastic signs. Now, if you're dealing with something more serious, like deep-seated fear or aggression, you'll want to look for a certified behavior consultant, someone with credentials like CBC-CKA or IABC-DBC. That's a whole other level of expertise. All right, let's talk money. What is this actually going to cost? It's good to have a ballpark idea of the prices here in Davenport so you can budget for it and also know if a price seems, off one way or the other. As you can see here, a typical 6-week group class is going to be somewhere in the ballpark of $130 to $220. For a single 1-hour private lesson, you're probably looking at $80 to $150. And yeah, those intensive board and train programs, that's a much bigger investment, often running into the thousands. Okay, being a good dog owner in Davenport isn't just about training. It's also about knowing the local rules. This is part of being a good neighbor, and honestly, a good training program should help you and your dog follow these rules without even thinking about it. So here are the big 3 you need to know. First, the leash law. Basically, if you're not on your own property, your dog needs to be on a leash, and that leash can't be more than 6 feet long. Simple enough. Second, your dog has to be vaccinated for rabies. That's a state law. And third, that barking, if it becomes excessive, it can be considered a public nuisance. And that's definitely where training can save the day. So you've learned all this stuff in training. Now where do you go to practice? Well, we've got some great spots. The dog parks at Duck Creek and Centennial Park are perfect for working on recall in a safe, fenced area. And if you want to practice your loose leash walking with real-world distractions, you can't beat the trails at Vanderveer Park or along the riverfront. They are fantastic for that. Okay, you've done the homework, you've narrowed it down to a few trainers you like. Now it's time to talk to them. Don't go into that conversation unprepared. Knowing what to ask is going to make all the difference in finding the absolute best fit. Here are the 5 questions you absolutely have to ask. 1. What's your training philosophy? You're listening for positive reinforcement. 2. What are your certifications? You know what to look for now. 3. How will I be involved? This is huge because you're the one who has to live with the dog. 4. Can I get a clear breakdown of the costs? No surprises, please. And 5. How do you apply this to life in Davenport? This shows they're thinking about your actual, real-world situation.
Look, at the end of the day, this is about so much more than just sit and stay. It's about making your life easier. It's about not being stressed when you have friends over. It's about feeling good on your walks around the neighborhood. A well-trained dog just opens up your whole world. And we wish you the best of luck in all your new adventures together, right here in Davenport.